Hi folks, and welcome back to our chat with Michael J. Bassett. You wrote the script for Solomon Kane. Your baby, you treated it. This is what you want on screen.
Yeah.
How much does the finished movie differ from that original script that you wrote?
From the original script, because I wrote every version of the script, it's exactly like the script that I wrote, but the final version of the script that I wrote, it really doesn't differ that much. And the overall thrust of the story is the same. The character is pretty much the same. The size of some of the sequences change. Yeah. You know, because as you write it, you realize. My instruction really was to write a doable fantasy action adventure. Like, if this movie works, you get more money next time round. So I had to write something that was very contained. You know, and the numbers going around that this film cost are nonsense, because it cost like half of that number that's going around out there. But the script really is very, very pure. I cut stuff. And there's some really cool gags that I cut. And I gags, I don't mean jokes, I mean like effects moments and stunt moments, which weren't possible to do because of the time and the schedule. But the truth of the matter is, it's pretty pure. There's some beats in the story which I wish I'd kept in, like scenes which I'd cut at script stage, just before we went into production of the film, thinking, you know, we don't really need that. You know, because I'm looking to try and...
Did it feel a little bit too indulgent?
Felt indulgent, or felt like it was just going to be a scene. It felt like it was going to be a scene that I'd end up cutting anyway. You know, and you try not to shoot them because that's money down the drain. But there's several moments where I wish I'd shot them, because they would definitely have added something to the story, to a character beat, or a little bit of the internal logic. Because there's a few moments in the script, in the film, where you sort of go, oh, that happened, oh, okay. Yeah. Whereas really, maybe just another 30 seconds of explanation somewhere would have helped, and that's one of those things where you look at the movie always very critically.
How in depth into the character that James Purefoy got? I'm sure he had a lot of input in as to.
Well, we took lines away from him all the time.
Do we need to say this or
do
this?
It was with James.
I don't think he'd do that.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. It was. We never really argued about what he'd do. It was much more about what he'd say, because James is always about him saying less and less and less and less. Now, most actors are all about giving me more lines. James would say, I just don't think this character would say this much. And on the page, of course, I'm writing things to explain to the reader as much as anything. You know, so that I'm trying to get the script over before the film exists. As soon as the film exists, the actor can do as much with his eyes and just as a look or a body posture, so he doesn't need to speak. So on the page, the script is much more wordy, and then we just cut it back, and sometimes we give a line to another character. So the information is being given, but Kane's not saying it, because he's a Clint Eastwood kind of dude. He just doesn't say much unless he has to. Yeah. And sometimes I'm just saying, I remember saying to James, please just say the line. You know, I need the line to get to get to this explanation. He said, no, but I wouldn't say it. It's like, just say it. You know. But
yeah, you know, good.
yeah, exactly. You know, but this is about those kinds of things. You go,
he looks good, I does.
His job, thank you. His job is to protect his character. Once I've given it to him as the director, I've said, no, you're the right guy for the job. I trust your instincts. I'm going to guide the performance, but you have to now defend your character from me, because I'm going to try and make your character exist.
You're his biggest opponent.
In many ways, I'm going to be the guy who makes you be in a fantasy adventure in a movie, and you're the character who exists in the 16th century battling his own demons, you know, and I need to find a way of making those two things come together. I mean, it sounds an arty-farty way of describing it, but that's sort of how the approach I take.
When you're framing or setting up a shot, are you consciously thinking about the emotion that the music or the score might be bringing to the shot? And if so, are you thinking about who you're going to use and how it all comes together at the end?
That's an interesting question. I don't know that I'm doing it on the set at the time. I don't know if I'm thinking about it on the set. I mean, you're aware that music can enhance things, and you think, okay, there's a tender moment and something's going to be happening here.
You don't play music on the set?
No, I do. No, I do. But I don't play score. I mean, like for the sword fights, I was playing the Ace of Spades by Motorhead. Yeah. You know, and because it just pumps everybody up, and actually it pumped everybody up a little bit too much on occasions. So you try and find something which is going to enhance the set and the performance. But I'm not specifically thinking about the score. Where that really kicks in as soon as you start cutting it together, because the pace of the scenes can feel really long and sluggish with no music. And the moment even you put a temp score down, you know, music from another film, I used a lot of the Da Vinci Code and The Dark Knight and those kinds of things.
So again, Hans Zimmer.
The Adventures. Yeah. So, and those are moments where you say to the, particularly producers and people who are watching the film without the score, they go, oh, it seems a bit long and it's a bit slow and this shot drags on. You go, no, once you've got rising violins or brass or something, it will feel really good.
The moment's
Yeah. And actually the trouble is you do make cuts based on not having the score in place, and actually as soon as the score starts to exist, you think, oh my God, I could have left that shot another 2 or 3 seconds longer rather than getting out of it so fast. So that the score really informs a hell of a lot of stuff. But then the other thing is the sound design can do that job as well. And what I found was there are occasions where you have to sort of abandon the score in favour of the sound design. Like at the end, the fire demon is this big, stomping, crushing, roaring beast, and we had score over it, and the score and the sound were all doing the same thing. So it just became this mishmash. Yeah. So Klaus had to go back and find a score which actually operated at different frequencies to the rest of the sounds. So there's that kind of conversation going on between the various departments as well. And again, I become the arbiter of those because everything's rushing in post-production. Nobody actually has the time to talk the way they should do. And Klaus is working in America or France, and my sound guys are in London. So and he's sending bits of score through. And he was flying over to actually do the mix and to do the orchestration. We did this at Abbey Road, which is a great place to do it. I remember Klaus sending me a piece of music which before he left, and I hated it. And I said, I don't want you to record this. I don't like it. It doesn't work. It's nothing like I wanted it to be. So he wrote a new piece of music on the plane on the way over, on his laptop, and it was just wonderful.
It's a very ominous, brooding score, isn't it? Which is
this bit. I love this stuff. Occasionally, I have it on my kind of iPod shuffle, right, and it'll come on. I go, oh, that's a good bit. Oh, it's mine.
I turned that one up.
Yeah. Which is really, really nice. So.
And at least you haven't got a pop song playing over the end credits, have you?
Not in this country. Well, I tell you what's interesting is that what you realise is that it becomes a marketing thing, and I know that the producers are thinking about getting a rock band to give us a track for the final credits. Now, my thinking on that is, once my name's gone by on the final credits, and I've got a nice little credit sequence which I really like. So that's kind of inviolate. That bit is going to stay as it is. Okay. And then once the slow crawl, like 7 minutes of names, put a damn song in it. This
is a new sort of trend in movies now, isn't it? Where you have like a sort of animated, sort of action-packed, very visually interesting credit sequence, credit montage towards the end, and then it will drift into the credits.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you have the above the title names. Because the thing is, if I don't have any credits at the beginning of the movie, which is ordinarily where they come. I wanted to get straight into it. So that means at the end you've got to do something which serves the film quite well. And I had a spare fight sequence as well, which I hadn't used. And I really wanted to use it, and so we put it in the credits. Excellent. So, and also there's some of the shots from the credits are actually in the trailer. Because it's a beautifully, visually fantastic looking fight sequence which just didn't actually fit into the story when we cut it together. And those are the damn disappointing things you have to.
That's a Zack Snyder sort of thing, isn't it? The animated final credit sequence.
Yeah. But it's live action. It's got animation on it, but it's all live action sword fights.
Well, it's all beautifully dressed up.
Yeah.
So.